The Roustabout. When most people picture an oil rig, they imagine the roar of the drill floor, steel biting into rock miles below the sea. The Roustabout is the one who never touches any of that, and without him, none of it runs. He's the lowest rung on the rig, the general laborer, the person every other trade leans on to keep the platform alive. His day is raw manual work. When a supply boat arrives, he's the one hooking cargo into crane baskets that swing and roll on the swell, guiding heavy loads onto a heaving deck. Between deliveries, he's scrubbing the decks, chipping rust, painting steel against the constant salt corrosion, dragging pipe, and assisting welders, mechanics, and electricians with whatever they need. It's the unglamorous connective tissue of the whole operation. Getting there asks for no diploma, but the price is still real. Before he ever sets foot offshore, he has to pass survival training. The basic offshore safety induction and emergency training, which includes helicopter underwater escape training, where you're strapped into a mock fuselage, dropped into a pool, and flipped upside down to practice escaping a submerged, capsized helicopter. That's the routine commute. A flight over open water to a steel island, with the worst weather and the night shifts landing on the newest hands first. And yet this is where nearly everyone above him began. The driller in the control chair, the tool pusher, even the man in ultimate command of the whole installation. Most of them started exactly here, hauling cargo in the cold. The roustabout is the bottom of a ladder that reaches all the way to the top, and every rung above him was climbed by someone who once stood right where he's standing. The roughneck. Picture a 90-foot column of steel pipes swinging over a wet, vibrating floor and a small crew moving in on it in seconds. That's the roughneck's world. He's the roustabout who earned a promotion onto the drill floor itself, the loud, dangerous heart of the rig where the actual well gets built. His core job is making and breaking connections. As the drill string is lowered into the earth, pipe has to be joined section by section, and when it comes back up, every one of those joints has to be broken apart again. He works the tongs and the iron roughneck, a hydraulic machine that grips and spins pipe, wrestling stands of drill pipe that can weigh thousands of pounds as they hang and swing above him. He's surrounded by pinch points and moving iron, communicating with the driller through hand signals because the noise swallows every word, often for 12-hour shifts called tours. The cost is written on his body. New hands, called worms. Learn fast that this is one of the most injury-prone jobs on the platform. Crushed fingers, back strain, the constant exposure to rain, wind, and cold on an open floor over the ocean. There's no easing in. You learn the choreography of the floor while the floor is already moving. But step back, and the awe sets in. That drill string he's assembling, one stand at a time, can stretch for miles beneath the seabed, threading through rock no human will ever see. He is the muscle that literally builds the well, the reason a hole reaches oil trapped thousands of feet below the ocean floor. Every foot of that impossible depth passed through his hands first. The Pumpman. Some of the hardest jobs on a rig are the ones nobody watches. The Pumpman lives inside the pump room, one of the loudest, hottest, most punishing spaces on the entire platform, tending machinery most of the crew never thinks about until it stops. His responsibility is the high-pressure pumping systems, above all the mud pumps that force drilling fluid down through the drill string, out through the bit, and back up the hole carrying rock cuttings with it. These pumps run at brutal pressures, often several thousand pounds per square inch, and the fluid never stops circulating during drilling. He monitors them, maintains them, and keeps them running through vibration, heat, and the ever-present hazard of high-pressure lines that fail violently when they fail at all. Learning it takes time in the noise. He has to know the machinery code, the valves, the liners, the pressure ratings, because a problem in a pump room isn't something you can stroll away from to think about. It has to be caught and understood immediately, in an environment where you can't hear yourself think, and the equipment punishes hesitation. Here's what makes his invisible job matter. Long before the blowout preventer ever comes into play, the primary defense against a well violently kicking back is the weight of the drilling mud itself, the hydrostatic pressure of that heavy fluid pressing down, holding the formation in check. The pump man is the one keeping that fluid moving and that pressure alive. He tends the machinery that forms the very first barrier between the crew and the raw pressure of the earth. When people talk about well control, they picture dramatic last-second saves. But the quiet man in the pump room is the reason it rarely gets that far. The Derrickman. Of everyone on the drilling crew, one man works the highest, in the worst exposure, timing his hands to catch a swinging steel giant. And he does it 100 feet in the air. The Derrickman is the roughneck who earned the right to climb. During a trip, when pipe is being pulled from or run into the hole, he's harnessed onto the monkey board, a narrow platform roughly 90 feet, about 20 to 25 meters, above the drill floor. From there, he guides each stand of pipe into the fingers that rack it, catching and setting stand after stand as they swing in the wind, and, on a floating rig, in the slow roll of the sea itself. When he's not aloft, he's running the mud system down below, checking the drilling fluid's density and viscosity, tending the shale shakers that screen cuttings out of the returning mud. He's the crew's lead hand under the driller. The path there costs years, not weeks. You typically need at least a year working offshore, usually starting as a roustabout or roughneck before anyone trusts you on the board. And the defining hazard never leaves. He works at height, exposed to wind, rain, and cold, on a platform that may be rising and falling with the swell, where a fall is the thing everyone is quietly aware of. What lands hardest is the precision of it. Most people couldn't stand on that platform for an hour, let alone reach out and guide a stand of steel weighing hundreds of pounds into place, over and over, in the dark and the weather, catching each one at exactly the right moment. He does it as routine, the highest, most exposed dance on the whole rig. The rig mechanic. The drill floor gets the attention, but it all stops the instant an engine dies. And the man standing between the rig and that silence is the rig mechanic. He's the one keeping every engine, pump, and machine on the platform alive. His domain is machinery, the diesel engines and generators that power the entire installation, the mud pumps, the top drive, the hydraulic and pneumatic systems, the cranes and winches. When something fails in the middle of an operation, he's crawling into cramped, hot machinery spaces and confined compartments, often around fuel, hydraulic fluid, and hazardous materials, to diagnose and repair it fast. There's no calling a shop or ordering a part overnight when you're a helicopter ride from land. Whatever breaks, he fixes with what's aboard. Getting here means a real trade. Most rig mechanics come up through an apprenticeship or a recognized qualification in heavy machinery, then spend years mastering diesel, hydraulic, and pneumatic systems specific to drilling equipment. It's skilled work, layered on top of confined space hazards and the constant grind of maintaining machines that never really get to rest, and the stakes are enormous, even when nothing dramatic is happening. A deepwater drilling rig can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars a day just to operate. So, every hour the rig mechanic keeps the machinery turning is what keeps the entire operation economically alive. When the top drive seizes or a generator drops offline, he's the reason it comes back before the losses stack into the millions. He rarely appears in anyone's story about the rig, and he's the reason the story doesn't end early. The Subsea Engineer. Here the rig changes character. Unlike the drilling crew, who usually start as laborers and climb, the Subsea Engineer arrives already specialized, recruited from an electrical or mechanical trade, or with an engineering degree, then put through extensive training. Subsea is a highly specialized, heavily regulated world, and his core responsibility is the single most important safety device on the entire rig, the blowout preventer, or BOP, is the last line of defense against a blowout. A massive stack of valves and rams designed to slam the well shut if pressure surges up from below. In deep water, that stack sits on the wellhead on the ocean floor, connected up to the rig through the drilling riser. The Subsea Engineer maintains it, pressure tests it on the surface and on the seabed, and keeps its control pods, hydraulics, and the remotely operated vehicles that service it all functioning. When the BOP is being run to the seabed, it's one of the most complex high-load phases of the entire operation. Heavy subsea equipment lowered thousands of feet into the dark. The training never really ends, because the tolerance for error is close to zero. This is one of the most tightly regulated areas in all of offshore drilling, precisely because the consequences of failure are catastrophic. And that's the weight he carries. The name Deepwater Horizon is what happens when this system fails, when the last line of defense doesn't close. In deep water, a BOP can stay submerged on the seabed for as long as a year, in punishing conditions, and his entire job is the certainty that when everything else has already gone wrong, that stack will still shut the well. He's the guardian of the barrier no one thinks about until it's the only thing left. The driller. Now we reach the person the whole crew answers to on the floor. On his tour, the driller is the head of the drilling crew. Every roughneck, the Derrickman, the assistant driller, all of them take direction from him. He's the one actually steering the bit into the earth. From the driller's control cabin, he operates the machinery that lowers and raises the drill string, sets the weight on the bit, manages the rate of penetration, runs the mud pumps, and operates the blowout preventer when it's needed. He's reading a well he cannot see, feeling it through gauges and the behavior of the string, drilling through rock that can lie miles below the seabed. And when the well kicks, when a surge of formation pressure pushes up the hole, he may have only seconds to recognize it and act, because catching a kick early is what stops it from becoming a blowout. The chair is earned the long way. A driller typically works up through the full ladder. Roustabout, Roughneck, Derrickman, assistant driller. Over years, adding well control certification along the way, before he's trusted with the controls. He reports to the tool pusher above him, but on the floor, in the moment, the decisions are his. That's what makes the role so quietly staggering. He's guiding a bit through invisible rock, thousands of feet down, reacting to pressure he can only infer, and he's the first responder to the most dangerous thing that can happen on a rig, standing between a routine day and a catastrophe. The whole crew's safety funnels through the calm of one person watching the gauges, the offshore installation manager. At the very top stands one person with a kind of authority most jobs never carry, the offshore installation manager, the OIM. He is the highest authority on the installation, the offshore equivalent of a ship's master. From the newest roustabout to the driller in his cabin, everyone aboard ultimately answers to him. In the day-to-day, the OIM runs the whole operation, production and drilling targets, coordination between every team, maintenance, and above all, safety. By regulation, he's responsible for the safety and well-being of every person on board and within 500 meters of the installation, and for preventing pollution to the sea around it. But the true weight of the role only reveals itself in an emergency. In a blowout, a fire, or a man overboard, the OIM assumes total command, either making the installation safe or ordering the full evacuation of every soul aboard. Reaching that seat takes a career. Most OIMs have years offshore behind them, usually rising through supervisory roles like driller, tool pusher, or barge supervisor, and they hold formal competence certifications specifically in commanding emergencies. It's leadership tested against the worst days imaginable. And that's the awe of it. When something goes catastrophically wrong hundreds of miles from land, there is no Coast Guard minutes away, no fire department around the corner. The decision to hold the platform or abandon it rests on one person in real time, with hundreds of lives in the balance. Deepwater Horizon is the shadow every OIM works beneath, the reminder of exactly what that final call means. He's the one who has to make it. From the roustabout hauling cargo on a heaving deck to the manager who commands the whole island of steel, an offshore rig is a single machine built out of people, stacked from the deck to the top of the derrick, down to the wellhead on the seabed, and up to one person holding final command. Every rank on it trades comfort, safety, and time away from home for the oil that moves the world, and almost none of them are ever seen doing it. If watching how these jobs actually work made the rig feel a little more human, consider subscribing. There's a lot more of this coming. And if you've worked offshore in any of these roles, or you've ever thought about heading out there yourself, drop a comment below and tell us what people get wrong about the job.